It's actually astonishing how many times Dr. Stone has made me emotional as if I was Senku getting a message from my father thousands of years in the past. It's just insane the number of times a series that at surface level before starting Dr. Stone, before episode 1 aired, I would have laughed at myself if I would have said, hey, Brandon from the past, you're going to feel so many deep-rooted, very vulnerable emotions watching Dr. Stone. I would look at the trailer and laugh in my face, because there's no way that's going to happen, but countless times it has. This episode was the best episode of Dr. Stone for myself. That's how much I enjoyed it, and best of all, the cliffhanger they left us off on didn't feel like a cliffhanger, but rather, it was setting up for that season 2, and they immediately confirmed the season 2. The Stone Wars arc will be coming out, I believe, next year. It is interesting how they word it. It almost feels like they are just saying season 2 will be this arc, and based on what I've heard, that arc should only take about a core of anime. So I'm curious if season 2 will be 12 episodes, 13 episodes, and then we'll have to wait for more, or if they're planning on doing a 2-core. Either way, we're getting more Dr. Stone anime sooner rather than later, so I can't be complaining. But this episode, 10 out of 10. I mean, I think at this point, it's going to be very, very difficult for anime to compete for Father of the Year, Father of the Century, Father of all time, when you look at what Senku's dad has done. I mean, of all the things that we've seen for him, the whole idea of, these 100 tales is genius, because if you're going to pass down the knowledge of modern day to basically some generation that's probably going to have no idea what any of this is, the idea of making them children's stories so they're easy to learn and be passed down because people want to tell them because it doesn't feel like education. They may not understand what exactly it is, but if your son wakes up someday, he'll also understand certain secrets, and then these people will probably survive as they won't touch a poisonous plant because one of their tales told them not to without realizing it. But to actually see the time capsule of passing a record, I did not see that coming. I doubt anyone saw that coming unless you read the manga. There's a lot of things that Senku's dad has done, and I think once it starts setting the motion, you start piecing it together of what's going to happen. But to see what he left for him, I was like, okay, a piece of glass. I mean, it's Senku. He can make his own glass. And then to just see the buildup of, they already made one phone, and to make a record player, that's just a cakewalk at that point for what they've built. So to just see those moments building up to it, to make the record player, and kind of bouncing back and forth between the past and the present, and seeing the idea of it, because I just love Senku and his father's relationship, because they're never gonna say I love you, right? They're gonna laugh at that, they're gonna say it's too cheesy, but they both understand that what they're saying, even though they aren't those words, it is I love you. It is that untouchable father and son bond. And maybe to outsiders it looks like a very cold relationship, but to us we know how much they care for one another, and to see those moments building up to it, and just hearing his voice in the modern day for Senku, I mean, it's gotta be hard not to just bawl your eyes out if you're Senku. So I mean, props to the guy for holding it together, because that would have been difficult. What I love is how it wasn't even just built on just being hey, I'm your dad, I want to make sure you know I love you, but rather, he understands that Senku's job would be difficult down the line. Which is kind of amazing that there wasn't even a single doubt in his mind. It's not even just hey, to whoever is listening. No, he 100% believes that if anyone's gonna basically rebuild the world, it's gonna be his son, which absolutely, there's only one person per Earth cycle that probably could do what Senku's doing, and it's absolutely going to be him. And to see that not only was it this loving message, but also a way to make sure that the village was 100% on his side, which I was thinking to myself, that's really sweet, but Senku already got the village on his side. So it's a nice moment, but the whole idea of the song, it's not going to be needed. And how wrong was I? The whole idea that I wasn't even really thinking about this, the idea of music, games, television, all these things that we take for granted because it's just a part of our culture. It comes out more than we can consume. These characters have never had something like this, and to have one of the best singers of Senku time deliver a song, the first song that they're ever going to hear, it makes them excited for the war because they know science needs to continue. They need to revive everyone. They need to unlock the secrets of humanity. And even though Senku wouldn't have expected it, he did need his father's guidance in those final moments. And what a perfect way to wrap up the winter, by literally getting everyone excited to fight in a war. And even though Senku won't admit it, he definitely was worried about pushing these people into his own battle. But at this point, it's their battle. And what better way to conclude your first season of an epic anime? One of the best of 2019, in my top 5 of 2019, in fact. It felt like this episode had everything that I wanted, and I totally expected a lot more of like a punch to the face in terms of a cliffhanger, but rather what they gave us was this epilogue for season 1 to then get us excited for that season 2. And honestly, had they not confirmed season 2 after this episode concluded, I would have been fine just wondering if we're getting more, because it doesn't feel like a sting. It doesn't feel like something that's going to hurt as you wait, because you assume it's going to get more, and even if it took them a year to confirm it, it feels like they left us off on such a nice way that it's like, you know what, we're good just waiting. But the fact that they also did confirm it, it's just the icing on the cake, and we've already had the icing on the cake, so they just keep giving us more, and we can't even consume it all. It just felt so perfect, and there is so many moments throughout this episode that were like that classic Dr. Stone. So much comedy. I mean, one of my favorite moments, ignoring all the emotional punches, which were just top tier, and some of the best for the series to date. The whole idea that Chrome is pretty much the first one to use the phone, and the whole idea that everyone's kind of setting him up, being his wingman in a lot of ways, to say, you know, confess your feelings, this would be your moment. And he's basically just hyping up science, but she's still getting flustered. It was like so perfect for them. You know that it's going to be a will they, won't they for a while, but still, I love how everyone was getting just so frustrated, but she was, you know, actually embracing his kind of wackiness and how, you know, science is cool. Like, look at the wonders, and she kind of embraces who Chrome is actually becoming. It was quite nice, but I mean, the episode literally kicks off with one of the funnier moments as of late of just, you know, they did build a phone and we all kind of embraced it, and then the question gets brought up, hey, how are we gonna hear it? It's like, I love Senkyu. He's such a troll. He doesn't tell everyone everything because he knows should he say everything, it's gonna get people not inspired to work hard. So it was kind of nice just to see the slap in the face and then immediately put a band-aid on and get everyone regrouped. It just kind of feels like Dr. Stone. It did something I think not many people expected. Like, I know this was a popular manga. It was hyped up as it was going to be one of the best anime of last season. It would obviously be one of the best anime of the following season. But still, I don't think the trailer did justice to how good this anime was. But I also don't think that's a bad thing. There's so many twists and turns, and like, it subverts your expectations so many times that it's actually kind of amazing that it made it look a lot more cliche, a lot more just like a typical shonen of the season. But what it ended up doing was being exhilarating. It was something that was educational, that, I mean, the manga actually has like someone who he has to like bounce ideas off of to make sure that his inventions make sense for the context of the stone world, right? So it has like fundamentals that like, it makes sense that what they're doing and saying could happen in theory, just obviously we can't test it because we're not in a setting like this. It just feels as if the idea of the setting wasn't a gimmick. It was actually supposed to feel realistic, despite also having so many anime gimmicks that people have fallen in love with over the years, be it anime faces, the jokes, or just some of the executions for its story and plot mechanics, right? But to see how human this cast became over 24 weeks, it's mind-boggling. Like, I don't think anyone would have looked at Magma in the beginning and said, you know, this would be a human character by the end, but he did. He's still that meathead, he's still someone who wants to smash things around, but this dude is in love with science, and who would have expected that? I mean, there's plenty of characters in this village that you could probably just pick from a crowd and say, yeah, they would probably be okay with Senku ruling the village, but this is like a caveman society, all things considered, yet it feels so modern just because of the mind, but also his father, who was able to just inspire this wave of confidence in science to become something that's so, you feel like a follower of this anime world, as if you're a part of this cast, as if you never saw science, as if this is something that is your first experience with it, and you just want to fight in a war because you want to see more, even though we have it at our fingertips, right? And that's an incredibly special and one-of-a-kind feeling that not many series will get across, because anime is fiction. It's very hard to separate the idea that we're watching something fake and something that feels so real despite knowing it's fake. But with the amount of times it pulled on my heart, as if I felt like I was, you know, listening to a father's message and it was meant for me. It's like, it's actually impressive how this 2D drawing was able to invoke so much emotion from me and not feel like it was this forced cheesy bullshit you typically see in a genre or series like this. Dr. Stone was just so goddamn good, and like, the worst things I think people could really point out about Dr. Stone is maybe some production issues here and there, but that's like with any anime, especially if you're going for 2 seasons straight, you're gonna have some bumps along the road. That's to be expected, and most of those bumps get touched up, especially in a popular series like this in its Blu-ray and DVD release. I don't have a fault with this. Like, I loved it from episode 1, and there's so many people telling me that, Brandon, just wait, it's gonna get good eventually down the road. But I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, this show is exhilarating already. Like, the whole idea that the world froze over, basically, and you have to rebuild it from scratch. You can already tell how crazy it would get down the road. Just who could have expected that there would already be people a part of the world as he woke up? Like, this show is something that you could show someone who's hardcore into anime, casual into anime, or maybe have never seen anime whatsoever, or thinks it's all just tentacles and hentai, basically. This is a show that I think would entertain far more than it would disappoint, in my honest opinion. Yes, there's a lot of, like, really out there anime absurdity. You can look at some of the face reactions, but I truly think I could show someone who has no interest or no love for anime, and they're probably going to get a kick out of this. Maybe they will feel like some of those people who say it takes a little bit to get going. Maybe they don't have the same love I had, like, in the intro, but I truly expect more people would love what I would show them with Dr. Stone than they would say this is stupid and pointless. And that says a lot, that it could hook the hardcore fan, or maybe has no love for the medium in question, and that's kind of amazing. Dr. Stone was one of my favorite anime to follow week by week. One of my favorite anime to review on the channel, and I am so excited for season 2, as probably most of you are watching. But what did everyone think of this very emotionally charming and just exhilarating episode? Did you love it as much as myself? How excited are you for season 2? Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like and remember to hit that subscribe button if you have been new. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.